Hey, Sooner football fans. This is your Sooner Football Fans podcast. Today we have Sooner fan Scot Ford from Carrolton, Texas. We get into a lot of good topics with Scott, from the spring game and to running backs and to that running back named Kennedy Brooks. We also talk recruiting and the 2018 defense. Is a young defense going to do much better? Sooner football fans is not associated with the University of Oklahoma, but we do have eligibility left. Boomer. Hey, Sooner football fans. You got Terry and Rob here. Boomer Rob.
Boomer Terry.
And on the phone with us from Carrolton, Texas, we have Sooner fan Scot Ford. Boomer Scott.
Boomer Terry.
So tell us a little bit about Scot Ford. Are you from Carrolton? Are you a Texas native, or did you move down there?
And more importantly, how'd you become a Sooner fan?
Yeah.
Right. Well, the way I look at it is I'm kind of imprisoned down here by my wife until we get to go back home.
We're not going to tell her you said that.
So I think I caught one of your podcasts talking about the traffic in Dallas when you came down for the draft. That's my life every day.
I can't believe there's not more road rage deaths in Dallas than there is.
Full AR on somebody.
It is horrible. So,
absolutely, it's just the worst. But I was born in Tulsa, and then I went to OU after I did a community college stint there in Tulsa. So I got to OU the Landry Jones era, and so I was there for 3 games in 2011. That's why Tony Jefferson's my favorite Sooner, which is I think we played Ball State. And he got 3 interceptions on 3 back-to-back drives. And I was like, this guy is awesome. And so that was it. I was in. And then I suffered through a little bit of the Landry Jones. Couldn't get, his red zone production wasn't the best. And then we got the bulldozer, so It was fine. So that's really my introduction to it. And my whole family's either... the smart ones are all Oklahoma, and then we have a few people that we don't really talk about that are Oklahoma State fans. And
those are the cousins.
For the most part,
those are the cousins that live in the woods, right?
Exactly right.
We all have them. We just, we keep them, buried as much as we can. So now you're recently married, right?
Yes, just a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, because you were scheduled to come on.
Congratulations.
Yeah, Rob says that, question mark.
Question mark, yeah.
So
we've been together for a long time, so I'm sure she was just happy to get the ring on her finger.
Yeah. So because you're supposed to come on a couple of weeks ago, and you were getting married, and then had your honeymoon last weekend, correct?
Correct.
Where'd y'all?
We went to the Caribbean, one of the islands down there, one of the St. Lucia, I think it was, and it was pretty hot. I was not expecting it to be Texas hot, even further south. I don't know why I didn't think about that, but it was very hot. It was very beautiful. We had a great time.
Yeah. So is your wife? She's from Texas and drug you down there?
Yeah, she was born here in North Texas, somewhere abouts, I think. And I'm really bad with the regions here in Texas. I'm just a visitor the way I see it, so I don't really need to learn it. And we met at OU. We both were in the business college, and then we met then, and we started dating then. And then she graduated second, and so I had gotten a job in Oklahoma, and I didn't really like it all that much. And then she got a job here in North Texas, and she loved it. And I was like, you know what? I hate my job. You like your job. I'll come there. So I came down here, and I was like, oh, this is a mistake. This is a huge mistake. What have I done?
Yeah.
And so, I've got a job down here at a software company that I enjoy, but every once in a while she'll complain about her job, and I'll be like, you know what? You're right. Your job's awful. I don't really like my job. Let's go back to Oklahoma.
Yeah, there's something for us there.
Exactly. And she's like, I see what you're doing. I see it. Don't think I don't know what you're doing.
Well, you're still close, to Oklahoma.
It's a driver and a wedge, right?
Yeah, driver and a wedge.
Mm-hmm.
So your whole family, you were born and bred a Sooner fan out of Tulsa. So we're going to throw out our regular questions that we ask our fans. First off, you're not, alternate jerseys, fan or no fan?
Not really a fan, honestly. I like we did the all red jersey for the Iowa State game, and I was like, that's not bad. Red's my favorite color. I think I could get used to that, and then we lost. Yeah. And now I'm like, if I never see those again, it'll be too soon.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure Lincoln at the coaches show that week, when that was asked at Rudy's Barbecue, he wouldn't answer it. So I think that gave everybody the inclination that those probably got put in the in the burner in the furnace.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But, well, when you look as good as we do with our basic stuff, I mean, why bother changing it? You know,
right? And like you said, it's classic and
classic cred.
You know, I kind of got ridiculed a few weeks ago on Twitter for it's the kid. Somebody put out pictures of the 1930 Sooner uniform. I get that. Little bit of subtle changes as styles change, but a complete restructuring of our jerseys. Nah, I'm not.
Well, with the new Jumpman, it could be coming.
Yeah.
I mean, realistically, it could be coming.
Yeah, but it's what they did with the helmets. The bigger OU, they changed the interlocking a little bit. That doesn't bother me. It's like I said.
I honestly didn't notice until someone pointed it out, and then I was like, "What?" So I had to pull up a side-by-side thing on my computer to figure it out, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, how did I miss that?"
Yeah. So those subtle things I don't mind, but when I like the our classic look, and I know in the 70s we wouldn't have it, but that we have Sooners across the front of our jerseys. I love that. We're one of the few college teams that prominently display our name, and the interlocking OU on a solid red helmet, why change it? And
exactly.
But I know it's the the going thing with these kids now, the recruits, but I still think that the classic look is better, and not to compare us to Alabama, but Alabama doesn't do it. There's a lot of schools that don't do it and don't see a need for it. I just don't want to.
Well, I mean, you want to compare us to somebody. Look at, we've got a trophy case full of trophies, and Oklahoma State has a trophy case full of different helmets that you can wear while you lose.
I like it. I like it.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So, and since you brought OSU up, under any circumstances, should a Sooner fan root for Oklahoma State?
I think not, honestly, in my personal opinion. I'm not saying you need to leave them stranded on the side of the road or something, but like...
I am. I'll say that.
There you go. We saw someone, we were driving back from Norman today, actually. We went to the law school graduation up there, and we saw Oklahoma State person on the side of the road, and I was like, yeah, maybe if you had a better allegiance, I might pull over and help you.
Well, that... It's in-state rivals. I don't think it's our biggest rival. But it is our in-state rival, and I don't ever root for them. Rob, you don't ever root for them.
No.
If they happen to be in a game, that would benefit us if they win, I don't really.
But they never do.
Yeah.
if they end up in that situation, they have never, in my recent memory anyway, benefited us really.
No. But even then, I don't root for them. It's just like, if you help us out, great. If you don't, oh well.
Let me ask you this: do you root for Tulsa?
No,
not me.
No,
never. You never root for Tulsa?
Not
no. I went to Tulsa game when I was I think high school maybe, and I was like, "What kind of?" It was just strange. It felt like a really elaborate high school game. It didn't seem like it was a university. I was like, I don't know about this.
Yeah, and they've had some good players out of Tulsa, but the stadiums, they don't. I think there's probably more people at the Jinx Union game that go to a TU game. From what I can tell. I mean, so, I think, unfortunately, with this small of a state, their fan base is so small, maybe we're not, the state's just not big enough for 3 Division I schools, but I don't know what their state
And they have the audacity to be a private institution or something like that, so they're ridiculously more expensive.
Yeah. But every now and then they line up against us and take a whooping like they should, and so they're
except for 95.
Yeah, shut up, Rob. But it is what it is. But I don't really I couldn't tell you what their record was last year or if they beat anybody of significance. So
I couldn't either. But I mean, I root for them. It's hard for me to root for Oklahoma State ever. But that's just because I have to deal with some of their fans. I don't even really know a Tulsa fan, to be honest with you.
I don't either. Now, I am willing to bet that there's one person in this 3-person group here, and there's only one of us that have ever wore an Oklahoma State jersey or clothing.
It wasn't me.
Yeah, you did.
It's definitely not me.
Oh, yeah. Well, I lost a bet. I mean, come on. I'm a man of my word. I'm going to, if I make a bet with someone, I'll pay up.
Yeah, he lost the one time Gundy beat us, right?
Hey, in my defense, that chick was really hot. Okay?
Yeah, he was.
See, in that case, all is forgiven.
Yeah, he was dating a lady, and she was a big Oklahoma State fan, and
notice it didn't work out, though, right?
Yeah. He's not dating her anymore. But
I wonder why.
Yeah, they had that bet, and the next thing I know, I guess she got your phone from you and started sending me all the pictures of Rob and his Barry Sanders jersey or something like that, wasn't it?
I don't know.
Oh, man.
I don't know. Yeah, it was a bad day. My Sooners let me down. I'm not going to lie.
But anyway, moving on. Let's talk a little bit. Did you make it down for the spring game? Or
yes, it was cold.
No, it was ridiculously cold. What are your thoughts on the spring game? Did you get anything out of it?
I think it's in terms of how this coming season's going to go, probably not. But it's always good just to get out there. And I'm of the mind where someone says something like, if we lose to Texas, we lose to Oklahoma State or something, and then a fan says, oh, man, I wish there's something I could do to make us better. Well, going to the spring game or showing up wherever Lincoln Riley asks us to show up in large numbers, that's what you can do. You know what I mean? That's how we help, beat Texas and beat all these people that we hate so much year in and year out. We got to do our part, and that's what going to the spring game is, plus it's a lot of fun. So right. I would never miss that if I can.
Well, and plus, the recruiting rules changed this year to where, the spring game is basically an event now that we can promote the program, have kids in, official visits, and all that. And that was his point of wanting to pack the house.
Yeah.
Was we need to make an impression on these kids as much as we want them to see what a game day atmosphere, as close to a game day atmosphere as we could give them, in the middle of April.
And but I still don't think we were close.
No.
Yeah.
I think it would have been, had it not been wind blowing 80 miles an hour out of the north and wind chill at 12, I think more people would have showed up.
I think we would have got 80, to be honest with you.
Yeah. I mean, it would just.
I know a lot of people who came out of their house that morning and then were like, I'm going home.
Yeah, it's a spring game. It's too cold. And I know people that they got there, they have young kids, and they ended up, not even staying for the game. They got there, did the sale, walked around and did some stuff, the statue, and they said it was just too cold to have the kids out for that long. So they loaded up the kids after the statue dedication and headed. So,
can't believe they didn't stick around for Trace Atkins. Yeah. Good God.
Right. Well, I went on the field for that, and I'm not a Trace Atkins person. I'm not really a country person overall, but I was like, stand on the field, that'd be great. Just walk around the field and look at everything.
Yeah.
So we did that. We went out on the field and walked around, took a bunch of pictures and things like that, just to, like I'm standing where Pirine and Mixon just ran 100 yards. That was what it was for me, and I was all about that. So.
I get to do that all the time.
Yeah. Rob works at the stadium, so every day he sends me pictures of whatever they're doing at the stadium at that point in time. He was doing that day, but then I started sending him pictures of me with Billy Sims, Me with who else did I see?
Jamel Holloway.
Jamel Holloway. Kyler Murray.
I didn't look at any of them. I was like, Terry, you're a jerk.
Yeah, he sent me pictures of, stadium's looking good, and I sent him a picture of me and Jason White. So,
there you go.
Fed it back to him for a little bit. Yeah, and really, I think the spring game format, it was designed, I think, more for us to try to have some type of game atmosphere to it. But, they got I'm sure they got what they wanted out of it as far as some, coaching tools or video, film, got stuff on film that they can watch. But,
quite honestly, that whole thing may have been just for those recruits that came in.
Just to have the fans there. And, you heard the collective gasp when Sermon went down. And and you did notice that immediately when Sermon went down, what's his name? Just went blank, Rob. The other running back.
Sutton.
Anderson.
Yeah, Anderson. Yeah, Anderson went into the locker room with him. He was done too for the day. They were like, one down, we're not playing no more of that one. So, but those, you can't worry about that. I mean, that could happen in any regular practice, but it was.
Well, the other running back, what's his name, Kennedy Brooks, who had the shoulder surgery last season.
Yeah.
He had 100 yards.
Yeah.
So I was like, my God, if anything happens to anybody, we're fine.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, I didn't miss Abdul Adams as much all of a sudden. So
they talk about Brooks like he may be one of the faster kids in the backfield.
So I
saw him get to the outside a couple of times, and I was like, my goodness.
Yeah, we are not lacking in the running back department or receiver department.
Well, I heard somebody say on the radio the other day that TJ Pledger kid could probably go in and start at most of the schools in the Big 12 next year. I mean,
yeah,
this coming year.
They said the way he catches the football out of the backfield is just amazing.
Well, we got a lot to look forward to, I think, this year.
It's good to be a Sooner fan right now.
Yeah.
I mean, as always, but the 90s were a little rough.
Yeah.
But
and we can forget those, but I mean the recruiting classes that he's put together, and then all the eyeballs that hit Twitter that weekend. And it's funny that the experts say it was the single greatest commitment day outside of a signing day ever. That nobody has ever seen anything like that happen. Which is amazing. The only bad part about it is we got to wait 2 years to see them. All these kids are coming in. They're finishing up their junior year, and they still got another year. So we're not going to see them until 2020. So,
but I mean, the way it is, if these kids stay on track the way they are, we could basically replace the entire team by the time they get here. 2 of those kids are 5-star wide receivers. One of them's the 4-star that should get his 5th star by the time it's all said and done. The quarterback, Rattler, is supposed to get his 5th star at some point. So, I mean, they're loaded for sure.
I don't know how Michael Thompson hadn't got a 5th star, to be honest with you.
Yeah. When we had Brandon from the Football Brainiacs, he said a lot of times the star is, that last star is who does he commit to, or what are the top teams looking at him? And, they may be a 4-star, but when they commit to OU, all of a sudden, boom, it goes up. Or if they get an offer from OU and Alabama and a Texas, that gives them that 5th star, because your recruiting experts say they see something more than what we see. And if he's getting that many, offers, then, there's something that there that they need to give that 5th star. So, and
the stars mean a bit, but at the same time, Baker Mayfield's a 3-star. So if you're going to give someone that's got the fire that Baker Mayfield has, and it's got to be a 3-star, I don't look my nose down at him at all.
Yeah, and if I remember right, what's the
Sam Bradford?
I think he was a 3-star. I know he was the last quarterback that they took.
I don't think he got that third star until he came to Oklahoma.
Yeah,
Because that was the year they brought in crazy kid from Louisiana,
Rhett Bomar.
Red Bowman.
Yeah, and it was it seemed to me that Bradford was kind of like, hey, that safety pick. If all these other quarterbacks, don't work out, we can fall back on him. And lo and behold, some good coaching. And, just because you don't have a star doesn't mean you can't walk out with a, Heisman Trophy. It helps, I guess.
He played like a 5-star, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I've said it once, though, and I'll say it again. They didn't recruit my half a star, so.
yeah.
Maybe it's more like 0.25 of a star.
Yeah.
But.
Yeah, it wasn't because you weren't trying to send them tape, right? and that was back in the day when you sent tape to schools.
Actual physical
I'm
tape.
not even sure we had a tape recorder.
Yeah, but now with recruiting, they've got that what is it, Hudl, and that's
Hudl.
what it's called, which is Facebook for football players.
So you can follow all the guys that we just signed and watch all their plays this year.
Yeah, on Hudl. And
that's the first thing I do usually when we get a commit, and somebody like Sooner Scoop or somebody puts out like, this is what we're getting, and whoever the person is, I'll get on Hudl, type them in, and try to find them.
Yeah, and it's great because we get kids on Twitter that will, they're sophomores that'll send us their, they'll private message us, they'll follow us, private message us, and go, hey, can you share my tape? Can you share my game film? And I'm like, I guess. I mean,
right.
It's not that, we're probably not going to help you, but yeah, sure.
You're aiming a little low here, bro.
Yeah. But I mean,
you guys said you have some eligibility left.
Yeah,
that's they're hanging out right there.
Yeah,
absolutely. We do. I got 4 years.
I'm sure I could play like 4 or 5 seconds against one of those. I might last 4 seconds.
Yeah, but they do, and it's. The self-promotion that these kids do now is crazy. They got the AV kids at school, putting all that stuff together. They bring in the disc and say, hey, throw me some game film together, and then they put it out there on Hudl, and then they can send it out to everybody that they want. The next thing you know, you got Lincoln Riley and people knocking on your door. So. It's definitely a different world. Earlier signings and the way that these kids get can self promote is crazy. But
I know that they were talking about I'm sorry. So I think it's IMG Academy is where TJ Pledger and Buki are from.
Yeah,
and they were talking about that IMG Academy has like a class in their like high school somewhere where you can take classes to figure out how to edit game film for the players and stuff. Like it's becoming like a career in and of itself because the way people put stuff together. I mean, I found some things on YouTube. Like there's a guy, I think his name's like Mr. McIntosh, where he puts together highlights of the entire season to, some amazing Star Wars music or something really epic, with all the big hits and the touchdowns and the whatever. And I'm like, I'm like crying. This is so beautiful, Like, my Sooner spirit is just blazing. I'm like, oh gosh, we got to wait 200 more days until the first game.
Well, and the only thing I don't like about the player videos that they put out on Hudl and stuff like that is the music. Nobody puts anything to some good rock music anymore. Somebody throw out some Metallica.
These kids today are not rockers. Okay, Lincoln Riley is not a rocker.
I mean, because the music just doesn't go with the video. I mean, it's. I understand it. It's their thing. And we all had our things when we were kids, but it's just like this music doesn't even go along with a football video whatsoever. But it gets shared 1 million times, so I can't.
Right?
They know better than I do, I guess.
I remember when Joe Mixon was going to the NFL, and some I think Bengals fan put together a Metallica Ride the Lightning highlight tape of Joe Mixon running all over Oklahoma State.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this is beautiful.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's when you put it to music like that, aggressive style music, that's football. The hip hop, I don't get it, but I don't think I'm supposed to get it, but
Yeah.
Let me change gears here for a minute. How are you feeling about, we're going to have a fairly young start in defense. How are you feeling about that?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, everything's an improvement over the last couple of years we've had, and really, it's like our defense has gotten better over the course of the year. So if we have a pretty young, defense overall, especially in the, in the front with all the different guys we brought in, I'm interested to see like Ronnie Perkins, see if he can tear it up and everything. When you put a single digit on a big man like that, I expect to see some action. So, I'm confident in them, and I trust the coaches. I know a lot of people are down on Mike Stoops and whatnot, but I remember, I think it was like 2015, we shut down a lot of people, and then the very next year, 2016, we let, Ohio State and Houston just tear us apart. And so it's like, they got to know something. Something has to work. Something's got to give somewhere. So it's the same scheme. It's got to be like a player thing or something. They got to know what they're doing. He's getting paid for this. So, I'm a little bit more patient with him.
Yeah, I am too. I mean, I've said before, if you want to see, hate happen, just go to one of the Sooner fan sites on Facebook and just type in, what are your thoughts on Mike Stoops, and watch it just blow up. I mean, Twitter's not that bad, but Facebook, for some reason, maybe it's because all the old folks like us, me and Rob, are
bunch of haters.
they're but I mean, he didn't become a bad defensive coordinator, overnight. You know what I mean? It's I don't know if it's a complete scheme or just not. People are like, well, he's the one who recruited the players. Well, it doesn't matter that you recruit them. When you get them out there, you never know what these kids are going to do when they get out there. So, you get them out there and you go, you know what? We're not going to bump and run, because if we bump and run, we're going to get torched. We're going to get torched.
Guess what? We're getting torched anyway.
Yeah.
So change something. Do something.
I think that he's got to just be too nice to say, we don't have the talent to bump and run.
Right.
I think that he's not going to put the kids out there. Like, I remember I think it was the Ohio State game we lost in 2016, and then afterwards Bob was, talking about things that went wrong. And he was like, we were looking too deep instead of taking what was there in the checkdowns. And he's like trying everything he could to not say Baker Mayfield, but he only had one quarterback. And finally he was like, I've only got one quarterback, so you know who I'm talking about. But he's trying not to throw him under the bus, and that's, that's Mike's brother. So Mike's pretty much the same way. He's not trying to throw anyone under the bus. He's like, these kids maybe they're just not good enough. Maybe they just can't do it, and maybe we're getting kids like Buki and whatnot now that maybe, they are.
Yeah.
So.
Well, my whole thing has been when, we had another guy from the Football Brainiacs on, Jason. He said, if not, most of your offenses in the Big 12 are, and this RPO stuff is strictly timing. If nothing else, put a guy up there and knock off the timing of the route to give Obo, or whoever we have on that edge now, an opportunity to get back there and disrupt a little bit. It's when, and then you end up having athletes like Obo and Stryker and he's coaching it over Tapper, that they're back in coverage every other third down. And it's just like, what are you doing? Come on. I mean,
that breaks my heart watching Obo having to backpedal and follow like a tight end or something. And I'm like, this is not his job.
Yeah.
Like, you're just setting him up to fail. This is awful. Mm-hmm. It breaks my heart to watch him trying to turn around and follow the double moves and stuff. Like, this isn't his job.
Yeah.
This is just embarrassing.
Yeah. And he wasn't comfortable doing it. You could tell it. He didn't do it well, but by God, you put him up there and say, hey, pin your ears back and go get the fellow trying to throw it.
Well, he's going to have to start doing it well.
You think so?
Yeah, absolutely. In the pros, he's going to run that all the time. Probably more so than he is rush end or whatever.
Yeah.
You know.
Well,
we were talking about they're trying to use Obo like Von Miller, just like, send him after the quarterback over and over again because it's the same. I'm real bad with NFL guys, but is it Wade Phillips? Is the Rams?
Yeah,
DC?
Wade Phillips. Yeah. And
so
he was excited to see Obo. When he was still on the board, and I saw a deal where they were talking to him on the Obo on the phone. Wade Phillips was standing back there, with ear to ear grin, because he's and I wouldn't be surprised if Obo wasn't a guy that came in on second and long, third and long, and just that's all he does. So
just send him loose, just go after, rush the passer, get him.
But
and Obo's the guy. He's going to give everything that he has. I think I listened to a podcast from you guys not too long ago where you're talking about the Texas game where he's covered in mud at the end of the game because I don't want to come out on second down. I don't want to come out at any point. I'm going to play the whole game. I'm going to give you everything I have, and if it kills me, it kills me.
Right.
We're not losing to Texas. And I'm like, that's everything an NFL guy wants.
Yeah, that type of drive. And like I said, he was covered in mud, and it was 85 degrees. It wasn't raining. He was covered in mud because his jersey was wet from top to bottom, and the dirt turned to mud. He was.
By the way, they're still holding him.
They were holding. I've never screamed so loud.
Oh, yeah.
I'll tell you. All right, we were watching that game in the fair. I was wearing my P. Ryan jersey, and I was surrounded by Texas frat daddies who were all like drunk as can be, and I'm standing with she was my fiance at the time, and we're sitting here watching that game, and she's one of the kind of people, she'll kind of say something and not realize who's around her.
Yeah.
And so, these, college guys are like, oh no, that's totally legal. We can do that. That's fine and stuff. And like just mouthing off at this girl, right? And then she's like, oh, yeah. And I'm like, Dave, do not make me fight 8 people at a time. Like, I'm not getting in this fight right now. It's 1,000 degrees outside. We weren't under an umbrella. We're just standing in the sun, staring at a big monitor for the whole game. I thought I was going to die. It was so hot.
Yeah.
And then there's this fight breaking out at like the fourth quarter when it was close is when Rebecca starts saying this, she's getting into this stuff with them. And I'm like, do not. I am not fighting 4 people at a time and getting my butt kicked and having to ride the dart back, ugh.
Hilarious.
But, yeah, it was. I mean, but there was, I always revert back to it on there. There was one where there was a horse collar. I mean, the tackle literally, Obo was past him, reached and grabbed him by the back of the shoulder pads, and it was right in front of the referee. And even Obo got up and was looking at the referee like, "Are you kidding me?" I've
heard people say they saw the referees fist bumping Tom Herman.
I
was like, that would not surprise me at all with how that was. And then they gave, I think they gave Devontae Lampkin the roughing the passer.
Yeah,
he pushed, he put one hand on that Ellinger kid, and the kid flopped. Yeah. And then they were like, "Oh, roughing the passer." I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" After all that we've been through, it was like the third quarter by that time. I was like, after all you've been not calling up to this point, that's what you're going to give us? Are you kidding? So,
yeah, it was, but they did their best to take it from us, but weren't able to. But now, one of the things that you want to talk about the potential of Big 12 expansion. What are you wanting to see in Big 12? Are you wanting the Big 12 to expand?
Well, so the edge of my knowledge, like before I came to OU in 2011, 2012, I remember Rhett Bomar, right? That was kind of like the edge of my brain. So like 2006 even is pushing it for like me remembering really what was going on. And so I remember going back when I first decided I was going to go to OU, and I'm like all about football. I started looking up some highlights of like Big 12 championship games, and I saw like us playing, Nebraska or Colorado and Missouri, and I'm like, when did they leave even? I knew A&M used to be here and they defected to the SEC, but I don't remember, really people leaving. And so when they brought up expansion a couple of years ago, that was really the first time it like clicked in my brain. Oh, we used to be bigger and now we're smaller and whatever. So I was like, okay, well, Big 12, 10 teams, we should take 2 more people. It just made sense. I was like, yeah, that's fine, whatever. And then they kind of went through the options, what the media did, and I was like, wow, all the teams we could take suck. I really don't want anybody.
Wouldn't make
but at the same time, I was like, I feel like, yeah, exactly. So I was like, they're not going to make us any better. And if you take them, you're not just taking them for football. We have to take them for baseball and basketball and everything else. And I was like, oh, man, I don't know if this is worth it. So, but I've because of my limited, time frame that I'm looking at, as far as I'm concerned with the Big 12, I was like, you guys have seen it. What do you think?
Well, the expansion, I don't think the Big 12 is going to expand anymore. What do you think, Rob?
No, I think before it expands, it'll fold up.
Yeah,
the problem with us going anywhere is we apparently do not want to go anywhere without Oklahoma State. Well, no conference wants to take us in Oklahoma State. They want us in Texas.
Right.
They want us specifically, well, obviously, because we've been carrying around, our backs are hurting from carrying around the Big 12 for years. But nobody wants Oklahoma State. I'm sorry to say, they just don't want them. And we apparently do not want to go anywhere without them. Or that's everything that I've
heard the same thing. So,
and Texas,
you think that'll change now that we got a new president?
It might. I don't know. I mean, it's the thing is when all that stuff happened, when A&M and Missouri and Nebraska left, and then they were talking about Oklahoma to the Pac-12, the SEC, and all this stuff. I honestly thought at that point in time we were fixing to have 4 super conferences. And I think that's what the teams, the conferences were pushing for. We're going to say, hey, we're just going to have 4 conferences. We're going to have 2 divisions in each conference. We'll have a conference championship game. That's our that's a playoff game, and then we'll play it down from there. So in essence you've got an 8-team playoff by putting Oklahoma, by putting the Big 12 in the SEC or in the the Pac-12 or the Big 10, and I don't know why it just came to a screeching halt. But it did. That was the talk. It was like, well, Oklahoma's either going to go to the Pac-12 or the SEC, and maybe it was like what Rob said when Oklahoma said, wherever we go, Oklahoma State has to come with us. If that was the case, and everybody just went, well, no, I know some.
I don't blame them, honestly. Who wants Oklahoma State?
Well, and not to mention that Texas was like, no, we're good right here. We don't want to go anywhere.
Right.
Texas was fine with going independent because they got that
because they have that stupid network. Who the heck let them do that?
Right.
Honestly, like I looked up one day and they're like, you watch reruns of every game in the last 10 years that OU's lost to Texas on the Longhorn Network, and I was like, what? That's a thing? Like, that's included with my cable package. I'm like, why the heck would I want that?
Yeah, and, that they weren't, I don't think they really pushed for it, and most of the conferences were like, that's got to go. You don't get your own network. We have the Big 12 network or something like that. I think Notre Dame has their own network. I don't think any other team has their own television network.
I don't think so either.
So how about we kick out Texas, let them be independent, we take Notre Dame, we scrap Notre Dame's network, and make a Big 12 network.
Yeah. Well, Notre Dame doesn't want to play in a conference, because
even though they're siding in there with the ACC.
Yeah, but they don't want to play in a conference because that takes that takes the lure away from, they've always traditionally played USC and the military academies, which they've always played that. But let's face it, when they started playing the military academies was in the 40s and 50s. When the military
they meant something,
yeah. When they were producing Heisman Trophy winners and winning national championships, and
I love that national championship that Army won in 1945.
Oh yeah,
beautiful.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's great. I mean, nobody really challenged them for it. So
I think there's some other team claiming that one.
But seriously now, and it's no disrespect to the military academies because. Not only are these guys college students, they're walking out of college in in some instances here in the last 15, 20 years going straight to battle. So it's the football is good, but they're not going to win a national title. They've developed offensive and defensive schemes to fit their
lack of super talent.
Right, the lack of super talent, and they do it very well. But they play. I think they play Army and Navy every year, don't they? Notre Dame does. Why? I mean, there's no reason for it.
Auto W's.
Yeah, Auto W's. I don't know who else they play, but I mean, just suck it up and join a conference and share the revenue just like everybody else does.
Except Texas.
So
you know what? Here's the thing I think that may have happened, and this is just me, kind of thinking about it. I think they were given ultimatums from Texas A&M, Missouri, Nebraska, and Colorado. I think they said, listen, Texas, if you get your own network, we are jumping the ship and it's going to sink.
Yeah, you're not going to take all that money.
And I think Texas said, we're fine with that.
Yeah. And the fact that we lost the Nebraska rivalry is the worst thing in the world that happened with that. I mean,
that's the first game I remember. I don't know what year it was, but I was real young, and it was Oklahoma and Nebraska for I don't even know sure if it was the Big 12 yet. It might have been the Big 8 at the time, and we played them for the championship and we won. And I remember like my whole family screaming and everything, and I was just like, "This is awesome! This is football!" And that was like my first memory of football was OU beating Nebraska. And then by the time I was old enough to like pick a college and go, we don't play Nebraska anymore.
Yeah. my first recollection of an OU game was OU Texas, and I would have had to have been about 3 years old. And for some reason, I liked their helmets, and I was pretty sure my dad grabbed me to throw me out of the house at 3. And I was like, I like them. I like their helmets. And I just remember, I don't remember what he said, but it wasn't polite. It was like, boy, you better change your life right now. I will. But yeah, I mean, Texas probably rules the Big 12 financially, but Oklahoma is obviously carrying it in every sport. And we're not just talking football, the big revenue. We're talking, softball, baseball. We're getting back up there. Obviously, gymnastics, men's, women's.
Right.
What other sports are we ruling, Rob?
Golf.
We're the reigning national golf champions. We're reigning men's doubles tennis champions.
Yeah.
Obviously, softball. I think you said that.
Yeah. So, we're carrying it athletically.
So Texas is winning some national titles too. They're like always up there in swimming, and I don't know.
I didn't even know that Texas had swimming. So
I don't know, backslapping or whatever.
They can have that. Who wants to win a national championship in that?
Yeah.
Right.
Like Oklahoma State claims their wrestling national championships every year.
Yeah.
No one cares.
Yeah.
Okay.
Especially when that's the only ones you really have. I mean.
Right. Oh no, they get a friend of mine
equestrian.
told me this that equestrian. That's exactly what it is. And I was like, I wouldn't be proud of that either.
Yeah, I didn't even know that was a college sport.
So what are there? 117 D1 schools. Is that right? It's 117. Yeah. I think only about 45 of them wrestle.
Yeah.
So
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, wrestling is a dying. Unfortunately, it's a dying sport because back in the day, it was. I mean, just not that much interest in it because not everybody understands it. So, but the only time people watch wrestling is the same time they watch gymnastics and ice skating during the Olympics and track. Nobody watches track until the Olympics.
Yep.
But and then you're the last 4 Olympics, Summer Olympics, we've been trying to watch just to see if Usain Bolt was going to beat everybody by 50 meters again.
Exactly.
But now, it's going to be interesting to see. I do think that, the the playoffs have hurt the conferences because you don't take much into consideration for a conference title anymore. We back in our days in the early, in the 80s and the 70s, we're playing Nebraska. People are throwing oranges down onto the field because, you won your conference. It means you went and represented your school at the Orange Bowl, and you might play for a national championship. And, of course, that was always the hope that, you'd be up there and you could, whether you want to call it mythical or not. But, the way the conferences are aligned now and with the playoffs, there's, you win your conference. Hey, it's, no big deal. You won your conference. Yeah. What did that get you? If you had 2 losses during the year and still won your conference, you're going to the Alamo Bowl. Exactly.
That was 2016 for us. I remember being like, man, if we just could have beat one or the other of Houston or Ohio State, and then we went undefeated in the Big 12, and I was like, for crying out loud, come on. Yeah. Give us a chance. I promise you, we've got it together now. Our defense was really cooking at the end of 2016, and I was like, oh, please let us get in, fight somebody who matters. Yeah. And it was like Auburn. Yeah. And I was like, fine, we'll take Auburn, I guess. God.
Well, things are going to look up at Texas now because they're all going through masculinity training. Yeah. So, and I think they're learning how to wear dresses down there. So,
you've seen that, haven't you? There's a.
No, I hadn't heard about that. What is that?
It's a I guess it's a requirement that student athletes or the male athletes or maybe just all males. I don't know, but it is. Male masculinity training.
Well, yeah, it'd be too masculine if you.
Yeah, it's whatever. Handling, not being a jerk or a jock. I don't know, but it's some type of masculinity training.
We're men, and you need to take that masculinity training, right? Am I right?
Yeah. But
it's like just because Oklahoma hands you your butt does not make you less of a man.
Yeah, it means you're Texas, and just accept it. But I'll tell you, one of the things, I don't know if you've listened to our podcast before with Benny and Buds. Actually, we talked to them earlier today, and we've got podcasts dropping. They're actually fixing to do a whole set on their blog page about realignment and the possibilities and what we all as fans should hope happen with it. So I don't know if you've ever.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't know if you've ever seen their blog page, but they do a real good job. John and his brother Rob, they do a blog page, and they're fixing to do a whole thing. I think he said, what did he say? 4 segments on it.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah, 4 different posts on their blog about conference realignment, who might come, where we might go, and so on. So very timely topic there because they're going to be dropping it out, and it's on bennyandbuds.com. So,
perfect.
Yeah, go check them out because they do, like I said, they do a really good job. But
yeah, I hear a lot of people talk about realignment, and after we spend about 10 minutes talking about it, we realize that none of us really know what we're talking about. Yeah. So I think that's something.
Nope. We all would like to see something happen, but, I do like the conference championship game. I'm glad we brought that back, even though we got to beat somebody twice. But,
yeah, it's really the who gets a second shot at Oklahoma game. Yeah.
Let's go rename that now.
Yeah.
But, here's something that I haven't brought up. And Rob, you say what you think, and I went down to the draft, okay? And now everybody knows that Jerry's World's been trying to grab the OU Texas game. And people have said it's never going to leave. It's the fair and everything else. Now, the NFL draft was basically a big fair outside of Jerry's World. Food vendors, beer vendors, there weren't any rides, but it had all those combine deals you could do. Now, my thought is Jerry's just landed this. Is he going to turn around to the University of Oklahoma and to Texas and say, you know what, I'll do a fair for 2 weeks or a week, and we'll end it with the OU Texas game. Do you think there's any chance they would move it out of the Cotton Bowl?
2 words.
I would love to be in a dome, but I don't think they'd do it.
Okay, Rob, you said 2 words.
Money talks.
But as a fan, that's been the big lure. Well, we don't want to change it because it's it's the fair. Well, you know what? If Jerry puts on, Jerry's fair, outside the stadium for 10 days,
it's not going to be the same if that does happen. But I'm telling you, the university has done it more than once. Not just ours, any university. When if they're bringing in, let's just say they're bringing in 1.2, and I think that's probably a low figure, but they're splitting that right down the middle of Texas. So now you're looking at just under $1 million or something each.
Yeah.
As opposed to going to Jerry World and you're raking in $5 million each.
Yeah.
Those numbers do not lie, and that's what those presidents of the university, they're going to look hard at those numbers.
Yeah. Because it would, not that people aren't going to go whether it's rain, sleet, or snow, or shine, or 100 degrees at the Cotton Bowl, but it would be.
Well, Sooner fans go for all 4 quarters. The Texas fans go there for the first 2.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And I say now, personally, I don't know that I would want it in Jerry's World just simply because I don't know if you've been in that stadium. And if I would go to the OU Texas game, there is not a snowball's chance in hell I'm sitting in the upper deck. Okay.
Right, that's the only place I've ever sat. Yeah, it was way up in the nosebleed, and I couldn't even see the other side of the field because the big board is like right in the middle.
Yeah.
So I couldn't even see to the other side of the field, like their sideline, because the board's there. So I basically had to look at the board the whole time.
Yeah,
I couldn't look down and see anything.
Yeah, I don't do heights very well. And we went on, I've been in the stadium twice. I haven't been there for a game. We went to the draft, and we did a little tour of it when we went down there for some baseball games. And I'm sitting there looking up at it. It's like, there is no way you could get me into a seat that high, that high up. I would have to spend a small fortune or, sell a kidney to be able to buy a seat down in the lower deck just to watch it. But I don't think I'd be comfortable, I don't even like the upper deck at OU Stadium. I know I wouldn't like it at Jerry's World. So, but that's just a thought. I hadn't brought that up. I just thought, it'd be kind of interesting because we know we went after it at one point in time. But let's hope that we do keep the tradition. And they've done a lot of upgrades to the Cotton Bowl.
This past year, I went inside looking for concessions or something. I can't remember where we were at exactly, and I was like, I hope they have like a TV somewhere so I could still see the game, because I think it was the start of the third quarter. And I noticed that they do have TVs, but they're like tube TVs up on like a rack that I'm like, if that little strap doesn't hold real well, you're about to take out like 3 kids here. And I was like, this is not safe. This is a safety hazard.
Yeah.
Like, what's going on?
But I mean, like I said, they've upgraded it. Jerry's already, he's taken the Cotton Bowl from the Cotton Bowl because, the Cotton Bowl game is now played there. And I guess they have the Dallas Bowl that they play at the original Cotton Bowl. So
that's not confusing or anything.
Yeah. And the Cotton Bowl Hall of Fame is in Jerry's World.
Jerry's World.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I thought Roy Williams got put in there.
Yeah. I didn't realize he was the first Sooner to ever be inducted into it. I would have thought we'd have had a couple in there, but we haven't played in the Cotton Bowl that much here recently, so maybe that's the reason why.
I was like, Roy Williams is going to be in the Cotton Bowl Hall of Fame, so it must be for the Superman play. And they're like, no, for the Cotton Bowl not for plays made in the Cotton Bowl Stadium. I was like, what?
Yeah.
They're like, no, it's completely different.
It's for the Arkansas game. Because I think that's the last time. No, we played in the Cotton Bowl and got throttled by A&M at Jerry's World in the second half. But that was, I think, I know we didn't play in the Cotton Bowl in the 90s. So I don't think we played in any bowl in the 90s very much. But, it was just, something to think about. But, hopefully they don't make too much changes with it. It's a great game. It's a great atmosphere, and it is cool. Even though it's the Texas State Fair, the fair does do it justice. You can get there and enjoy the fair, and if you before and if you win, you enjoy it. If not, or you enjoy the fair again if you win. If not, just get out of there as quick as you can. And
you get out as quick as you can. Exactly. I remember we've won a couple of times in the past few years, and I've been like furious at all the Texas fans that have the audacity to hang out after they lost. I'm like, get out of here. We get to have fun today. Now. Yeah. You guys lost. Go home. All right. It's our fair now.
Yeah. But like I said, it's one of the neatest atmospheres for any game, and I think it's the best rivalry game, in the country. I don't care what you say, Ohio State and Michigan, Florida State. Nothing compares to OU Texas. And for years it was played, and it wasn't even a conference game. They just played. It was a non-conference game every year, and they played it.
Big 8 Southwest Conference.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Hey, well, Scott, I think that's about all the time we have, if you're good with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Well, we appreciate you, coming on with us. We've got all your information. And as the season gets on, we're going to start having folks back and doing some special stuff for the season. So hopefully we can get you back on to do some of that stuff.
Absolutely. Anytime, at the drop of a hat, I'm ready.
All right. Well, that's it for this podcast, guys. Boomer Rob.
Boomer Terry, and thank you, Scott.
All right. Thanks, Boomer Scott.
Boomer.
Thanks for listening to the Sooner Football Fans Podcast. If you want to be on the podcast and talk Sooner football with us, go to www.soonerfootballfans.com. Click on the How to Be on the Podcast tab, fill out the form, and we'll get you on. Boomer.